Janae, brava. You're on cloud nine. I have to say, it's hard to come and start this interview after we've just been suspended from the start of the second act, really from the start of the opera. But it's so beautiful to behold this marriage of this staging and this music. And this is how you're making your Metropolitan Opera debut in this really historic production here, playing a legendary queen.
Okay.
I read that Nefertiti actually played a role in your childhood.
Absolutely. Growing up in Tacoma, Washington State, that is, there weren't necessarily a lot of African images that we saw. So my family made it a point to have African art, African symbols, music, and Nefertiti was a big icon in my household. And so making my Met debut in this iconic role feels really just so right. And
at home.
And at home, I feel her. She's with me.
And that you've actually, now you get to incarnate her in this way when she's been a part of you from the beginning. It's so beautiful.
Thank you. Wow.
You grew up, as you said, in Tacoma, Washington. And I love this. You were the captain of your high school basketball team. So I'm curious, like, how did opera beat out the basketball?
Well, I was kind of forced to make a decision. It was a very unfortunate circumstance where my coach at the time said, I'm not going to play you because you chose singing over basketball. So I said, well, you know, since you can't guarantee that you're going to play me further, I can guarantee you that this will be the last day of my competitive basketball career. And it was a difficult time, but I would say that I made the right decision in the end.
Yeah, well, I think we would all agree with that, absolutely. Isn't that funny how sometimes the biggest tragedies grow into something that
so I'm thankful.
Put you on the path. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Some people refer to you as the Beyonce of opera. Can we get the wind machine in? Wind machine, please. Tell us about that. You put a ring on it.
Yes, exactly. Well, it kind of caught phrase a few years ago, and, you know, I thought, do I like this? Beyonce is Beyonce. She is in a realm of her own, and I've admired her since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
So at first I was a little bit hesitant, but, you know, it kept coming. I couldn't stop it, and so at this point, I fully embrace it. I am channeling every queen with this role, and she is at the top of the list.
I love it, because it's this kind of popular reference that sometimes people outside the classical world, it gives us context.
Absolutely.
But to be sure, there is no other Janae Bridges. I mean, you don't need another title as well.
Thank you so much.
Now, we asked social media followers a few questions, and we've got one starting with Jessica Costello in London.
Oh, wow.
And she asks,
I know her.
Do you?
I do.
Oh, well, that's no fair, but we're going to still ask
sorry,
it.
okay.
Maybe she knows the answer. How do you feel as someone who graduated from the Manhattan School of Music, who's returning now to the Big Apple to make your Met debut? Is it a real pinch me moment?
It really is. What a beautiful question. I graduated from Manhattan School of Music 10 years ago this year, and so it just feels so full circle. I remember buying the cheap seats, scraping all of my pennies just to be able to sit at the top of the house, and
now you see it from this vantage point.
And now I see it from this vantage point, and it's just, I'm so grateful and thankful to everyone that has helped me on this journey. It's really a dream come true, to say the least.
Well, I'm sure this is the first of many, and we look forward to it all.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
I'm so thankful.
Thank you so much. And I know Tacoma, all of Tacoma is watching.
All of Tacoma. Shout out to my parents, my family, and Tacoma. Thank you. And the world. Thank you for tuning in.
The world. Thank you, Janae. Thank you so
Joyce.
much.
Thank you.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for, my good friend and the astonishing talent, Anthony Roth Costanzo. I'm having a hard time looking at you.
I can't look at you, Joyce.
No,
I love you so much.
I love you because what you're doing here is just, it's extraordinary. And I almost hesitate to sort of break the spell, but you've lived with Akhnaten for so long.
Can I just tell you one thing? I'm standing here on the stage holding your hand and remembering one of the first things I did here at the Enchanted Island, and we were here, and I finished my aria, and you were holding my hand like this, and you squeezed it.
Yeah.
And then you turned to me and said, don't move.
Take the applause.
Take the applause.
And boy, did they applaud.
Thank you.
Yeah, and here we are a few years later, still covered in gold paint.
Covered in gold paint.
and gold leaf. You've just finished really one of the opera world's most gorgeous arias, but still unknown to the general opera-loving population, not any longer after today. Would it be fair to ask if this is the pinnacle moment of the opera for you?
It definitely is, and it's a tightrope walk, which is what makes it so exciting, and it's so personal. You know, it's the only thing in the opera in English, and it's because Akhnaten, I feel, is having a prayer with his God by himself, so we hear his thoughts. And after this temple scene of clubs flying and ha 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 ha, and then this very difficult duet with interweaving lines, all of a sudden, it's just me, vulnerable out there, and I...
And you float across the stage.
Oh, thank you.
When you're climbing these stairs at the end, what's in your head? What are you thinking?
You know, there's a couple things. Like all opera singers, I have 10% of me focused on the technique, which means foot and then raise and then step and then don't fall and then your foot is on your dress. But the other part of me, I look up and I feel the light of the sun on my face, and it feels, not to sound corny, but like I'm in Egypt. And I feel, before the show today, I was thinking of the ancient spirits that inspired this opera and that are then channeled and released through us today. So it's kind of exciting stuff.
That reminds me of a social media question that we have that I want to ask you, and it's from Simona Botas, Anthony Roth Costanzo. Do you remember being Akhnaten in a previous life?
Aha! You know, sometimes I feel this great, deep connection to the character. It feels like the culmination of everything I've prepared for in my life, all the education, all the experience I've had, is somehow embodied in this role.
Yeah.
And that's
it's
so
not
rare.
just the singing, it's everything.
It's a Gesamtkunstwerk.
Yeah, I love this. Cynthia Wilcox.
Yeah.
Anthony, we've heard about the painful waxing sessions you've endured for your role as Akhnaten. Is this, or what is the most extreme thing you've done in order to achieve your best in an opera?
I would say this. I mean, the waxing is actually how I became a countertenor to begin with. Just kidding. If
Mental
people ask
note
you,
to
mental
self,
note, that's
yeah.
how you do it. No, there's a lot that is involved in this. And the question is why? That's what I asked the director. Why be naked? Why be waxed? Why shave my head? And he said, because you, for 3 hours, have to take us somewhere different, and you have to be somewhere different yourself. So when I go to the grocery store, I feel like an alien. But when I step on this stage, dressed like this, I feel like Akhnaten.
And when we see you, we immediately know this is someone almost otherworldly.
That's right.
And vulnerable.
Yes, I think
vulnerable.
the vulnerability that comes with power is something we don't think about. We just think about these great leaders and them forcing their way. But some of them are great, some of them are evil. No matter what, there is this thought process and what's going on in their head, and that's what I'm thinking about.
That's why this is so timely. Anthony, thank you. I
Joyce.
know all of us who love you, we're so proud of you for this moment.
I love you to pieces. Thank you, Joyce. Mwah.
Give me some gold leaf, baby.
Mwah. Oh yeah, you got gold
leaf.
all over you. Bye, Joyce.
Philip Glass's opera has no violins, which is a story in itself. I welcome now the Met violist, who is finding himself in the unusual position of concertmaster, Milan Milisafievich. I totally messed up your name.
It perfectly.
No,
Thank
perfectly.
you so much.
Welcome.
Hi, Joyce. How are you? Thank you.
I'm going to have a confession now. The viola, this is not a joke, is actually, other than the cello, my favorite instrument. And it's extraordinary. Here you are in the pit. Philip Glass famously tells the story that the orchestra had to be small because of its debut in Stuttgart, 1984. So he comes up with the idea of putting the violas in charge. How does this feel?
It definitely feels unusual, but also really fun. I would say one unusual thing about it is that we don't sit in our usual place in the pit, because normally our seating is, I would say, usually always exactly the same.
Yeah.
But now we're sitting usually where the first violins are, and you know, we kind of have a more prominent role. All the strings are on one side. What I have to do personally is tune the orchestra. Plus, I have to, you know, play the role of mediator and somebody who makes sure that everything is running smoothly and the communication between the conductor and the orchestra is running well, which is the concertmaster's job.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think it's really fun. It's really fun.
This orchestra also, it's the first time playing this score. It's very demanding for concentration, etc. But what are some of the specific things that you all are trying to create in the pit?
I think it's a lot about this kind of sense of kinetic energy, a lot like what the acrobats are doing on stage. You just kind of, you have to get into this groove, you know? There is a lot of notes, and a lot of it is quite hard to play, but you have to really relax and get into the zone, I would say, so that you can really really kind of be in the groove of things.
But like Anthony was saying, without losing that 10% of concentration.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be
Absolutely.
disastrous,
Absolutely.
I think.
It's actually, honestly, it's not difficult to get lost. You have to really pay attention to where you are, because there's a lot of repetitive figures, and they just kind of create this energy that we kind of try to enjoy and flow with.
We feel that.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Last night, we're going to change subjects just a little bit, but I had the incredible joy of sharing the stage at Carnegie Hall with our new music director here, Yannick Nézet-Séguin. And so I just want to know what it's been like. This is his first season here. He's stepping into that position. What is it feeling with him at the helm of the company?
I think Yannick is just incredible. I mean, I've met very few people like him. His energy is so contagious. He loves music. He gives it his best all the time. I mean, he's been like a real breath of fresh air at the Met, and we're so grateful to have him. I simply love working with him.
I agree. I have yet to find anybody who feels remotely less than enthusiastic.
He walks into a room, he walks into the hall, and just the whole place just lifts up.
Yeah.
The atmosphere of the rehearsal
He's joy
is
incarnate.
amazing. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And great
Well,
musician.
thank you so much.
you,
Welcome to the
Joyce.
leading of the orchestra.
Yeah,
We're
it's been
enjoying
fun.
it
It's been
so
fun.
much.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm enjoying
you.
it too. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. The Met's Live in HD series is made possible thanks to its founding sponsor, the Neubauer Family Foundation. Digital support is provided by Bloomberg Philanthropies. The Met Live in HD series is supported by Rolex. We'll be back after a break.